Hi, my name is Elaine, and I am a licensed chef and a registered dietitian, and my passion in my entire life is about teaching people about making healthy food. Now, it's hot outside, and no one really wants to cook, and you want something quick but yet nutritious for you to do. So today we're going to make a chicken Mediterranean pasta dish. So what are you going to need for this dish? You're going to need about 1 pound of chicken breast. I have here a pound of cooked pasta already. I prefer the ziti pasta. Now you can make this gluten-free. I'm also using the Smart Sense pasta because it's a whole wheat pasta, but yet your family will think that it's regular pasta. We're also going to need lemons, chicken stock, Parmesan cheese, a little olive oil, zucchini, yellow squash, and some wonderful grape tomatoes. So the first thing we want to do is we want to saute some garlic in a little olive oil. So we're going to chop up our garlic. The easiest way I know what to do is just smash it with a knife, and then you can easily peel the garlic off. Now, some people have asked me if I don't have garlic in the house and I have garlic powder, what you would do is you would incorporate it later into the sauce, and I'll tell you when you can add it there. But I think fresh garlic adds the best flavor at all. Now, if you like a lot of garlic, you can add a lot of garlic. I like garlic because I'm Greek, and I think that's our favorite seasoning ingredients in addition to lemon juice. So we're going to chop this up. It doesn't have to be pretty, just has to be in small enough pieces for you and your family to enjoy. Now, occasionally I like to use the garlic in the jar if I'm in a rush, and that's an option for you as well. All right, once it's chopped up, what we're going to do is add a little olive oil. I'm Greek, so I'll say that I'm a little prejudiced, and I like to use Greek olive oil, but you can use any olive oil that's out in the market. Now, because you're heating up this oil, you really don't need to use extra virgin olive oil. It's really nice, but because you're going to be heating it up, you don't necessarily need to use the extra money, but you certainly can use it if you need to. So we're going to put the garlic in the pan, and we're going to do it on a low fire because you certainly do not want to burn the oil. Burnt oil tastes absolutely horrible. So while we're waiting for that to start to heat up, we are going to cut up our boneless, skinless chicken breast into nice, even pieces. Now, while I'm doing this, I've had people tell me, well, you know, I'm a vegetarian, and so I'm not going to eat chicken, or I don't like chicken. This dish can be easily substituted. You can use chickpeas, drain these off, and you can add those and make a wonderful vegetarian option. You can use tofu. What you want to do is get the extra firm. You want to pat it dry, and then you want to use it in your dish. Do you want to use shrimp instead of chicken? This lends itself very easily to shrimp instead. Cut up the chicken. If you find little pieces of bone in it, please remove it while you're doing this. What I do tend to find is if you can get all these things prepped ahead of time, it makes this dish go together even faster than we're doing it right now. Does anybody have any questions while I'm finishing the chicken at this stage of the recipe?
How much, all ingredients put together would this cost?
This would probably cost you, the chicken breast, a pound is probably $2 a pound, so there's $4 there. And I would suggest the rest of the ingredients you could probably buy for the whole meal for $10. And this will easily serve 4 people.
Serving of 4?
Serving of 4. Or if you have people with smaller appetites, you could probably go up to as many as 5 people with this dish. You try to keep these in even pieces because you don't want some pieces to overcook over other pieces. So you try to keep them as nice as possible. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about food safety because chicken does carry salmonella. And if you notice, I have myself with one of these simple plastic cutting boards. This makes it easy for me once I'm done with this to change out my cutting board. You can find these at the dollar store. I've got a whole bunch of them there. And when I'm done, I can certainly remove it. I'd also recommend washing your hands after you finish adding the chicken to the dish and removing your knife and using another knife so you don't cross-contaminate your vegetables. So we're going to remove this, the sink, and we are going to add the chicken to the skillet. Now you'll notice I'm not adding salt or pepper to this yet because I want to use as little salt and pepper in the dish as is possible. So we are going to saute the chicken until the chicken is cooked.
Is this considered frying?
Okay, pardon?
Is this considered frying?
No, this is called sauteing because all you're doing is cooking the chicken in a small amount of oil. If you were frying, you usually use at least an inch of oil or more frying. So see, I'm washing my hands, and we're going to go on to the next step of the dish. So while this is cooking, and I will gently stir it every so often, we're going to cut up our vegetables. We're going to cut up, now you notice I have a new cutting board and a new knife. So we don't have to worry about anybody getting sick after eating this dish. Now, this is not an exact science. If you like more zucchini than yellow squash, you can use more zucchini. And if you don't like zucchini, you can substitute broccoli. You can substitute green beans. The nice thing is right now in New England, we have a tremendous amount of fresh produce, which is really refreshing after a whole winter of having to buy vegetables that are imported from other countries. So we're going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to stir the chicken a little bit. You want to do it over a medium-high heat. This should take about 10 minutes to cook all the chicken down. Once the chicken is done, the rest of the dish will be done soon afterwards. So you can get this whole dish done in about 20 minutes. I have washed my vegetables ahead of time. There are wonderful farmers markets that you can go to right now and pick all sorts of produce. Now, let's say you didn't like the yellow squash. You like the zucchini. The yellow squash can be substituted. You can do sauteed carrots, but also get a beautiful color to it. But I would cut them very thin so that they actually cook quicker for you. Now what makes this Mediterranean? Because the sauce is going to have lemon juice in addition to the garlic, and we're going to add fresh herbs to it, like basil and oregano. Now when you use fresh herbs, you don't want to use them in the beginning, because by the time you get down to cooking the sauce, it will have lost all its flavor, and you want to keep as much flavor as possible in the dish. There we go, we're all set there to go. Nice thing about these things is that the thin cutting board, you can just scoop them right into your dish. So I'm going to try the chicken a little bit more. Now some people like to use organic chicken, you certainly can. You can use chicken thighs if you'd like to use chicken thighs. They do add a little bit more, have a little bit more flavor, but they also do carry a little bit more of fat. This is why it's important to cut the chicken up in small pieces, because the larger the pieces, the larger amount of time it's going to take for you to complete the dish. I think your meat will start smelling really good when we start adding the bases of our sauce. Now, you'll notice it's not an exact recipe, because you notice that this is not an exact recipe. And you can adjust it as much. If you want more garlic in it, you can like more garlic. If you want more lemon, you can add more lemon. Now, again, while we're waiting for this, the next step we're going to do is get our lemons ready and the lemon juice. It's going to make it very light and very refreshing. So what we're going to do is I've washed the lemon, and this is a lemon zester. This is one of these really cool tools that actually started off as something as the people who did make furniture used to smooth out the furniture, and someone decided it would be a great way to zest lemons and cheese, and even chocolate. You can get them at any store. They usually run about $6. And what they do is they make quick time of a lemon. And the best part of the lemon is not only the juice, it's the zest on the outside of the juice. I use a piece of wax paper because it's easier again to just transfer the lemon when I need it over there. I start off with the zest of one lemon first. Now, if you want to, what I'll often do is I will zest the other lemon because that's the best part of the thing, and I will freeze it. Sometimes when I need a little lemon zest for a dish, I can just pull it out of the freezer. Okay, we're doing pretty good here. So maybe another 5 more minutes on our chicken. The nice thing about this, it's one pan. You do not have to wash dishes. You just got one pan to wash at the end of it. 2 if you count the pot that the pasta was boiling in. I'm going to turn this up a little bit more. Okay. Alright, so now we have the zest of 1 lemon. The one thing I learned in culinary school is there is never an exact science to anything. You just the basis of a recipe, and that's what I'm teaching you, the basis of a wonderful stir-fry chicken recipe. This is Parmesan cheese. We're going to use this later on, but we're also going to use the same zester. Now, the real sauce part of our dish is wonderful grape tomatoes. Now, if you don't have grape tomatoes, you can use a can of diced tomatoes. But right now, in the summertime, they are wonderful and flavorful. You can use heirloom ones if you want to use heir ones. If you want to just use a diced fresh tomato, you can use it for diced fresh tomatoes as well. I just happen to have the grape tomatoes. How many of these? I probably would say at least a cup full of tomatoes. But if you have a cup and there's 3 little tomatoes left over, throw them in. That's what makes this not an exact recipe. The reason I cut them is half because you want to release the juices of the tomato into it. Now, has anybody been going out to the farmer's market lately? What have you been finding at the farmer's market that you've been buying?
What I've been finding?
The farmer's market that you're enjoying right now. You're enjoying those wonderful garden tomatoes that we've been missing after a long but mild winter here in New England.
Yep.
Summer corn is also in now. We can all stands out there have fresh corn that can be incorporated in other dishes too. And hopefully later on we'll be talking about other ways to use produce that you can find in the farmer's market. We finish up our tomatoes. Almost done there. Okay. Now, when the chicken is done, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove it from the pan, and we are going to add our other vegetables to the pan and cook them. Alright. There we go. We're done. And hopefully the chicken is at the same time. And it is just about another 2 more minutes. Again, you want to make sure if you're doubtful, I would rather you take one of the larger pieces and cut it open with a knife and make sure that the chicken is cooked all the way through. Now, the larger the pan, the quicker your food will cook. And I prefer a larger pan. A smaller pan, the food almost actually steams in it. Okay, I'm going to check on my larger pieces. And it is cooked perfectly. So I'm going to remove it to an extra bowl. There's an induction stove, so there's no flame. So the next thing we want to do is we want to bring our pan back up to temperature. So we're going to add another amount, probably about a tablespoon of olive oil to the pan. My husband would argue that Italian olive oil is better than Greek, but like I said, I'm sticking with the Greek olive oil. Okay. You can hear the pan starting to sizzle a little bit, and that tells you that the pan is up to temperature. So what you're going to do now is you are going to add your summer squash and your zucchini. Now when you buy zucchini and summer squash, you want to make sure that you buy the small, thin ones, not the ones that you make banana bread. Zucchini bread out of. Those tend to have large seeds in it, and it just really lend a very bitter taste to your dish. So we're going to saute this for a few minutes. Because what we want to do is we want to kind of soften it up a little bit. We want it to have a little bit of a bite, or like the Italians would say, al dente. Okay. We're turning up the heat to high because we want to get the food cooked. And now we're going to add chicken broth. Now, if you want to make this a little extra fancy, you could put in about 1/4 cup of white wine and cook it first. But people who are concerned about adding alcohol to your diet, be assured that it cooks off fairly quickly. And all you're left with is the wonderful flavor. Okay, we're trying to get this up to high so you can get this cooked. All right. Now I use low sodium chicken stock. Why? Because I can control the salt in it. And as the cooked chicken stock cooks down, it would get saltier and saltier. And we're all trying to watch our salt a little bit. And it's really not necessary. And the price is the same at the grocery store. Okay, so now we're going to add our cherry tomatoes to the dish. And you can see the beautiful color that we got on this dish. It's going to look wonderful, and you will definitely impress and wow your family. Okay, we're going to let this cook for a few minutes. Break down. Now, what we're going to do when the dish is close to being done is we're going to add the pasta. We're going to bring it back up to temperature. It's a little cool right now. I cooked it and I rinsed it off with cold water. Now, it washes off the starch. If you still have your pot, what I recommend is keeping a couple tablespoons of the pasta water because it has a natural thickening ingredient in it, which you can add to your sauce. They call it liquid gold. There are actually places that sell this stuff, the pasta starch, but you have it naturally. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the nice lemon zest to the dish. I'm running out of time. Okay. I'm going to add salt. Now salt has gone gourmet. You can get gray salt, pink salt, organic salt, sea salt. Is sea salt any more nutritious than regular salt? No, it's a lot of marketing. But some people seem to feel that it has a stronger flavor, and it does, so perhaps you use less of it. But it has the same nutritional value as your gold table salt. Okay, so we're going to let this cook for a few minutes. And then we are going to add our pasta. You can see the really pretty colors that are coming in as we stir it. Now, there are other additions that you could put to this dish. This is a very basic one. You could actually add Kalamata olives to it if you wanted to. You could add some feta cheese to it. You could add both of them, though I would find that a little salty. So we're going to put the juices of the chicken in there, and then we're going to add the chicken to the dish. So we're going to stir it a few minutes and let it get back up to snuff. And again, I cheat. I said one pot, but there is a bowl to go with it. But this is great because it can feed a lot of people, and you can tailor it to whatever you want for vegetables and for protein. I have done a vegetarian one with the chickpeas, and I have added the Kalamata and the feta cheese, and it comes out fabulously. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
When we eat.
Soon.
I'm hungry.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll have it up there soon. Okay, so then what I also want to do is I want to add a little bit of lemon juice to it. Just 20 minutes. So this is a simple device that I use to get the lemon juice, you can certainly squeeze it. If you put it in the microwave for about 3 seconds, you can warm up the lemon enough to get extra juice out of it. I'm going to use my fingers as a strainer to get those seeds. Okay. Now this is the time where we start thinking about adding our fresh herbs. Now if I want you to kind of smell these are out of my garden, and they're very easy to grow and very cost effective. You can smell the fresh basil and the oregano. I use a lot of this stuff in my cooking. If you go in the spring, you can get these at the farmer's market. Put them in your garden. There are perennials, which means they come up every single year, and you will have an endless source of fresh herbs to use. So I'm going to peel this off. I like to say that the trinity of the Greek cooking tends to be garlic, oregano, and lemons. Now again, like I said, you don't want to use these things at the beginning of the dish because they're very delicate and they will lose. Now you say to myself, okay, I want to make this dish, but all I have is dried. Dried is fine. What I would do is I would add the dried herbs about the time that I start adding the cherry tomatoes, because you want the dried herbs to have some time cooking in the sauce with the rest of the ingredients. Fresh herbs do not need that same attention. So now I'm going to add it to this. Whoops, got the stem. That's okay. You can see that. All right. This is a beautiful dish so far. Look at the lovely colors. Your guests and your family will be impressed. They will think that you have slaved over this, and you can have this to the table in less than 20 minutes. Or in 20 minutes. All right, I'm going to taste this for seasoning and see if I may just need a pinch of salt in this dish to finish it up. Perfect. We're just going to add a little bit of salt, about half a teaspoon. And then, just to finish up this dish in style, we're going to shut the fire off. And we are going to have some fresh grated cheese. Again, this is a very forgiving dish. If you don't have fresh cheese to grate, Kraft is fine. But what I tend to find when you do fresh grated cheese is that you don't need to use as much of it. Again, that controls the salt in the dish. This dish is very low in salt, low in fat, full of flavor, and will impress your family and friends. And now it's time to eat. Thank you very much. I know the smiling part, but I'm trying to get the patter down, and I can smile afterwards.